Hi, I'm Vicky, and in this video I'm going to talk about my favourite frugal living tips. Now, I think the word frugal has a bit of a bad reputation because I think it sort of conjured up images of sort of, you know, like not having any fun and not spending money on anything at all and just like wearing threadbare things and, you know, just like being really tight basically. And actually it's really more of a state of mind where you're being a lot more practical with your money, you're a lot more on top of your own budget, and you are ensuring that you're focusing the money that you do have left over each month on the things that really matter to you. So you're either spending each month on stuff that's really important to you, or you're saving up for, you know, say like that one fabulous holiday that you really want to have. So frugal doesn't mean no fun. It just means that it can really take the stress out of managing your finances and ensuring that you're not getting into too much trouble. Obviously right now things are really tough. I think a lot of families are doing literally every single thing that they can to balance their budget. I'm just going to add some of my favourite tips. I'm sure you've got plenty of your own. If any that I don't mention in here, like you think of, that are really great, then please leave them in the comments below because I would love to hear them. So first of all, I'm going to talk about saving on household bills, because this is probably, apart from say your mortgage or your rent, where like most of your money is going every single month. And there are a few practical tips that you can follow in order to cut back on those costs and just be a little bit more frugal. So your energy bill is probably scary right now if it's anything like mine, and the word is that it's going to be going up even more in 2023. So I think it is super important to do everything you can to conserve energy, to use a bit less, but hopefully also not deprive yourself of heat during winter when it's really cold. And as I'm filming this today, it is a very chilly day indeed, so I have got the heating on during the day, which is quite unusual for us. We normally hold off until the evenings, but it is so chilly in the UK at the moment that we have switched it on, so it almost feels like a bit of a treat at the moment. So one of the biggest things that you can do to save money on your energy bills is to just turn down the thermostat just by a couple of degrees so you don't have it quite so high all of the time. There's a bit of a myth out there that having your heating on constantly all the time at a set temperature will save money because the house isn't having to start from zero and heat itself up. This actually isn't the case. So like for example, just because winter arrived, I didn't immediately put the heat on. We've actually been okay until sort of 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and then we've turned it on. So obviously we're spending less if we've only got it on between 7 PM and 10 PM in the evening than someone who may have it on 24/7. And we've also had some days this winter where like we haven't switched it on at all because it hasn't been that bad. It's actually been quite mild on some days. It's only now that we're into the real cold snap that we're having it on a little bit more frequently. So just steer clear of that myth that having it switched on all of the time will save you money, because that's not quite the case. So another way to save money on your household energy bills is to turn down the flow rate on your combi boiler. I'm going to link in the description below to a tutorial on how you can do that, but basically combi boilers may have been installed set at like quite a high flow rate. The flow rate is the temperature your boiler heats the water up to before it sends it off to your radiators. So you could actually get away with lowering that a little bit, and that will save you a bit of money because the boiler is using less energy to heat the water. So that's something that's worth trying. One thing that we've done is we've cut back on the number of laundry loads that we are doing. I'm like now fully adopting the sniff test with things. If something has a tiny little mark that isn't really that noticeable, I'm like, nope, that's fine, you can wear that to school tomorrow, it's not that big a deal. Obviously big stains of food down the front of the top, you know, I'm washing that, but I'm now much more sort of open to things being reworn the next day. If they're not that dirty, if they don't smell bad, then I'm like, you know, it doesn't really need to go in the wash, and that is saving me on the number of laundry loads that we need to do, and therefore that's saving me on energy, it's saving us on water. So another tip is to try and avoid using your tumble dryer as much. We actually don't have one. So our clothes get hung on a just simple drying rack. I have thought about buying one of the plug-in heated airers. At the moment, like they're all sold out, but I think it is something that I am going to try next year. So watch this space to see what I think of those. But I've heard great things about the Lakeland Dry Soon heated airer. That's probably the one that I'm going to try. Basically, it's just like putting your clothes like on a radiator really. it plugs in, it heats up, it dries the clothes. I have a non-electric airer, I just have a normal airer. I find that things will dry much quicker if there's less laundry on there, if I space it out, and also placing it close to a radiator that turns on really helps. Earlier in the autumn, when sort of, you know, the weather had got colder, but it wasn't quite cold enough to put the heating on, I noticed that the clothes were taking so long to dry. It was really frustrating, like days and days. Whereas when the heating's on, all in the heat of summer, of course, it can take like literally just like an hour or two to dry. It's like amazing for things like bed sheets. It can dry really quickly. So try and maybe ventilate the room where your laundry is, and as I said, try and space out, place it close to a radiator just to try and speed up that drying time and avoid using the tumble dryer. A lot of people swear by dehumidifiers as well for drying out laundry, so they're basically extracting moisture from the air, and they are apparently cheaper to run than a tumble dryer, so plug in a dehumidifier near to your clothes. Obviously the only problem with buying any new gadget is there is an upfront investment in that new gadget, and if money is really tight, then you probably want to avoid doing that and just try and use the tools that you already have in your home. There are loads of more amazing energy saving tips on the Energy Saving Trust website. I absolutely love this website. It talks all about like doing things like switching to LED light bulbs and all that kind of stuff. It's really detailed and goes through room by room for you. I'm going to link in the description below to that website because it is great. So another tip for saving on your household bills is to pay your bills annually. You'll often find that the cost of things like your car insurance, your home insurance is much less if you pay it in a one-off lump sum rather than if you're paying it monthly. And it's the same with things like Amazon Prime as well, I think. And this is a really obvious one, but it's also a really important part of frugal living, and that is to pay off debt first. So really focus on a plan for how you're going to get debt free, whether it's credit cards or an overdraft, whatever. Calculate how much it is, calculate how much you can afford to pay a month. If you're finding that you've got nothing left, then find ways in your budget where you can make the saving. Use some of the tips that I've already said before in this video, use some of the ones that are coming up after, but really focusing on paying off that debt will like really set you up for good budgeting, for sensible money management, and it's just peace of mind as well. Okay, so I'm now going to talk about spending habits, which for me personally had always been my really big downfall when it came to spending and looking after my money. So a really good place to start with this is to give yourself a bit of like a budget makeover, to like write everything down so that you're really clear on where you stand money wise. And sometimes this can be scary. I've definitely found it scary when I've done it in the past, but you kind of need to know where you stand and just put your business hat on. Try not to get emotional about it. Money is an emotional thing for sure, but you need to kind of get over this hurdle of like seeing exactly where your money's going in order to, you know, sort of start making some practical changes. So you need to write down all of your subscriptions, any of your outgoings. You need to work out like how much you're spending on extras like clothes and toys and takeaways and little treats at cafes and all that kind of stuff. Write all of that down, and then you can start to look at ways to save. So like I did this a few weeks ago, and I was sort of looking at my subscriptions, and we'd had a Now TV subscription which we'd taken out so that we could watch a particular show, but we were now like not that fussed about having it anymore. So I went away and I cancelled it, and actually Now TV did offer me like quite a substantial discount on the monthly payment. I didn't accept that discount. I did fully cancel it anyway, but you know, it's worth considering that you either cancel the subscription altogether or you go to the supplier and you haggle, like, can you give me some money off this? It's really worth doing that with, you know, people like Sky TV, and I've got a whole article on my blog all about how to haggle money off from your Sky TV subscription, so I'm going to link that in the description below as well. Setting a budget has for me been a really important part of frugal living. It just means that I'm very clear on what I have to spend each month. I'm very clear on what my commitments are each month so that I'm never caught short. So I'm self-employed and I have been for quite a few years, which means that I need to do self-assessment on my tax. So I have to make sure, it's not automatically done for me by an employer. I have to make sure that my tax is set aside every single month, and also my pension isn't automatically deducted by the employer. I do have a direct debit set up for my own pension, but everything is coming in and going out on different dates because I'm self-employed and I'm getting income from different streams. So it's just really, really important that I am organised, and so I know, right, I need to put X amount away for tax every single month. My pension is going to be that much every single month. This is how much our household bills are every single month. And then also to understand what annual costs are coming up as well. So I know that summer is when all of my car expenses come around, like the MOT, the service, the insurance renewal, yay, all that fun stuff that adds up by quite a lot. But I know that's coming up, so I know that each month I need to set aside a little bit so that when that bill comes around, I'm all sorted and I can cope with it. And I think it's really important in your budget to include room for fun stuff, because otherwise everything all falls apart the second that you have a really bad day. You need to allow yourself the fun as well somehow, whether that might be like, you know, the big holiday that you want to have in the summer, or the day trips out with the kids that you want to do, or a weekend away, like whatever it is, you need to sort of have those fun elements in mind so that you can allow yourself some treats, but just include them in your budget so you cost it all out, so that you know that you're putting aside enough money every single month so that you're not caught short by a sudden splurge when you feel like you've deprived yourself for too long. So meal planning has been an absolutely huge thing for me, being really, really clear on what we're going to eat every single week, not going to the supermarket hungry. Shopping in the supermarket as well is quite key too, because the supermarkets are quite clever in how they try to direct us to the more expensive products, the way that they brand the, you know, like their finest range or their like luxury range, when in actual fact the sort of mid or lower range is just as good, and you probably wouldn't like really notice much difference. It's the same thing with things like medicines. You can get branded medicines like a branded aspirin, or you can just get a supermarket owned sort of budget aspirin. It's still aspirin. So yeah, when you're in the supermarket, it can be really good to just like be really savvy and aware of how they're trying to upsell you. A lot of the sort of pricier things that they want you to buy will be at eye level, so try and look down, try and look up. And also when you're looking at the price of food in the supermarket, look at the price by weight, because I'll often find it won't make sense. Like you'd think the bigger package would often be the cheaper way to buy something, and 9 times out of 10 it is, but sometimes the smaller package is actually cheaper by the kilogram, bizarrely, or by the milliliter, whatever you're buying. Say you're buying orange juice, so have a look at what actually would work out cheaper. Is it cheaper to buy the big packet? Is it cheaper to buy 2 of the smaller packets? And also taking into account things like offers as well. Look for things that are seasonal, because seasonal veg is going to be so much cheaper than stuff that's out of season. So go into the supermarket sort of really aware that ultimately upsells are happening all around you. Be really clear what you're going to buy. Don't be sort of sucking in for 2-for-1s on stuff that you don't actually need. And yeah, just sort of monitor prices so you have a vague awareness of what your shop should cost you. And before you go to the supermarket, when you're doing your meal plan and doing your shopping list, it's really important to shop your own kitchen first. What have you got in the freezer? What have you got in the cupboards? When it comes to shopping elsewhere, always be looking at the price and looking for cheaper options. If there's something that you say want to buy for like a Christmas present, then are there any sales coming up where it might end up being discounted? So really, really worth monitoring those prices and make sure you get the best deal, and take advantage of cashback. Like it's money in your pocket. Cashback sites like Top Cashback, really, really worth using when you do online shopping. There's also a new cashback website, or app rather, that I've just recently discovered, which is really, really fantastic. It's a really, really good idea. Okay, so this app is called Jam Donut, and what Jam Donut does is it sells you gift cards basically, but then it gives you cashback back on those gift cards. But what's great about it is, and at first I was like, okay, gift cards, I don't really see how that's going to help me, but you can get them for places like Sainsbury's and for M&S. So like if you're doing your food shop, you can figure out, right, what am I going to spend, buy the gift card on Jam Donut, and then you've got cashback on your normal weekly shop. It's like a really, really good idea. So I'm going to link in the description below to that app. That's something, as I said, I've literally just started using, but seems like a really, really good idea to me. And another one that I love is Airtime Rewards. I've reviewed Airtime Rewards on here before. I'll link to my video, but basically that is an app where you connect your bank card and it tracks your spending at the brands that it's partnered with. So it's partnered with brands like Argos and Not on the High Street and Waterstones and Boots. It tracks your expenditure and then you get money off your mobile phone bill as cashback. So really, really useful. I've had like £70 off my mobile phone bill through Airtime Rewards in the last 18 months or so. Really, really worth doing. And finally, when it comes to shopping, I have adopted a 7-day rule, and that has massively pulled me back from the edge of spending. It's really important, I think, to know your spending triggers, and that's another tip there as well, because if there's a particular brand that whenever they email you, you always buy from them. This is why brands email us so much, because they know that they can entice us in with like that new in product, or hey, we just got stock, or hey, we're running low on this, buy it before it runs out. You need to really be aware of those spending triggers and maybe unsubscribe, stop following accounts on social media, or mute them if you're trying to save a bit of money. Just know what those triggers are so that you can sort of take a step back. And what the 7-day rule is that if you see something that you think you want to buy, take a step back for 7 days and really think about it. Is it something that you really need, or is it something that you really want? Is it actually going to help you? Is it just going to be you spending money for the sake of it? And actually, when you step back for 7 days, it can make all of the difference to that decision-making process. And as part of that, what I've done is I have deleted my card details from my phone, so it doesn't sort of auto-complete on a transaction. I have to actually get my bank card and fill it in, and that, again, that stops you, because I think when it auto-fills your bank details, it's so like, yep, buy. It's almost like you're not spending at all. It's just, you know, it's kind of abstract when you buy it that way. So delete your card details and make yourself have to actually physically put in the numbers, and that can make you pause as well. Okay, so moving on to savings now. I have in the past been terrible with savings. I've had one ISA where I occasionally was putting money in when I remembered. Thankfully, I've always paid into a pension when I've worked for a company, so that is good. But in terms of sort of saving for rainy day or saving for my annual expenses, I've been terrible. So I've tried to turn that around, and thankfully I have done that now. So in terms of savings, I think it's a really good idea to have both a rainy day fund where you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses just in case work goes tomorrow, income goes tomorrow. You've got money to cover food, bills, to tide you over 3 to 6 months. And that's also where, like, say money, if your car like has a catastrophe that you have to pay for, and you know, like you've got to pay an excess or something, that's also where that would come from. And then if you have to use your rainy day fund, you just top it up again to ensure that it's always got that sort of 3 to 6 months of money there. That's your safety net, and that's really, really important. But then I also have something which some people call a sinking fund. So a sinking fund is where you save for expenses that you know are going to come about. So your car insurance renewal, your home insurance renewal, your MOT, if you know you need to get your boiler serviced, that's another expense there. Your annual holiday, the brand new shoes that your kids need, Christmas presents, birthday presents, parties, all that kind of stuff. So I try and sit down at the start of the year, normally in January, and maybe I'll do a video on this, let me know if you'd like that, and write down, what does my sinking fund need this year? What is coming up? And then you just divide it by 12. You know what you need to save each month to ensure that you can cover those expenses, and you just maintain that sinking fund, keep an eye on it. If any new annual expenses or monthly expenses come in, make sure that you've added that to your rolling list. And I find that what it means is that when an annual sort of bill comes in, I can just grab the money from my sinking fund, and I'm like, yep, that's fine. It's not coming out of that month's pay and suddenly leaving me really, really depleted that month. In order to save a little bit more money, you can look for fun, free stuff. So library events, community events. If you sort of take a look around, you'll often find that there's all sorts of fairs and clubs and things that are taking place that are either really, really cheap, say like £1, £2.50 to enter, or completely free. So keep your eyes peeled for that kind of thing. Obviously a day out at places like Legoland is amazing, but oh my gosh, it is such an expensive day out. So with Frugal Living, you kind of prioritise, so with Frugal Living, I've prioritised the events that like I really, really want to do with the kids. And then the rest of the time, I'm just trying to be really, really sensible with where we go. We take advantage of, like, say, our National Trust membership as much as we can. That was actually gifted to us, which has been really, really amazing. We get so much use out of that. So yeah, look for fun, free places around where you are. Another great way to save money on your shopping is to switch to reusable products. So this requires a bit of an upfront investment at first on the things, because reusable things will be more expensive than the disposable thing when you buy them, but obviously you're washing them, you're reusing them, so you're not having to repeatedly buy the disposable thing, and the idea is eventually you save money. So I've done this with menstrual products, with my face wipes. I must confess, so I've got rid of our household cleaning wipes. I don't buy those anymore. I must confess, I am still buying baby wipes because they're so useful for quickly wiping the kids' mouths at the dinner table. You'd be amazed at how many reusable products there are out there now, just so many, and also it's better for the planet too, so double bonus. And my final Frugal Living tip is actually my favourite, and it is to boost your income with side hustles. Side hustles completely changed my life for the better. It's meant that I now work flexibly, that I have time to take the kids to school, pick them up from school. I'm not stressed about rushing into an office. Being able to work from home has just been such an amazing thing for me. I have another video which has loads of ideas for side hustles, but just to touch on some of my favourites here. So I personally love blogging. The downside with blogging is I believe it takes probably 1 to 2 years to really make money out of it. But once you get over that hurdle, actually the rewards are absolutely incredible. I know people that are raking in 6-figure sums from blogging every single year. I have a second website, so I have my first website that has been really, really successful. I have a second website which is also now monetized, which I probably managed to spend about an hour or two on a week, but is bringing in over £1,000 a month. So really, really worth doing, really worth putting the time in. But obviously, if you're stretched for time, you need money right now. There are a few other side hustles that will give you more of an instant return. Doing online surveys is a really, really good, easy way to boost your income. Websites like Prolific and YouGov. I also really, really rate the ShopX app. I'm not sure if they're taking brand new users at the moment. I think you have to get on a waiting list, but basically all it does is ask you to scan your receipts and then you earn points, and then eventually you can swap those points for a cash voucher. It's not going to make you a fortune doing surveys, but if you put a lot of time in, it can make you a couple of hundred extra quid a month. So well worth giving it a try. Other side hustles that I really rate are like doing freelance work. So what skills do you have? Are you a good proofreader? Can you do copywriting? Can you be an online virtual assistant for someone? A virtual assistant basically like answers someone's emails. They work virtually, obviously, so from home, but they answer someone's emails, they organise their calendar, they might do social media posting for them, they might help set up meetings for them, all that kind of stuff. There's an absolute ton of different types of freelance work out there. If you check out the website Fiverr, that can give you some ideas of what other people are doing, what skills are they selling to make a little bit of extra cash. I really hope that you enjoyed this Frugal Living tips video. I would love to hear your own tips and ideas. I'm sure there are tons and tons and tons more ideas that I haven't mentioned in this video. I have got a whole blog post with Frugal Living ideas as well, which I will link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this upload, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.